Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and we're expecting some iOS updates this week that could be public or betas as well. We're also hearing more about iPhone 15, and there's more to talk about with iOS 17. This is your news update for the week of June 19th, 2023. This past week, Apple opened a new Apple Store location in London called Battersea, and they have a new webpage here for it. And also, Ryan, one of our moderators on our Discord and Telegram channels, actually sent in some pictures to share. So it looks like a really nice store. It's just another one Apple's opened or redone, and it's one of many that's being redone, and hopefully we'll see a bunch of those over the next year or two. Now, if you use your Apple Card to actually help you finance your new iPhone with installments, Apple is actually changing the policy. So typically every year you can sign up using your Apple Card, and if you use an Apple Card, typically you could actually finance with installments purchasing that next iPhone. And now Apple's changing it to only allow you to actually finance those if they're tied to a carrier. Maybe this is due to people selling their phones early, not paying it off, but either way, they're making that change if you purchase a SIM-free iPhone. Now, Apple released their new Mac Pro with Apple Silicon this past week, but it's had an issue already that requires a software update to fix it. If you're adding an internal SATA drive, they may disconnect when the Mac goes to sleep or you put it to sleep. Restarting actually fixes the issue, but Apple said that it's working on the issue and it will fix it in an upcoming software update. That could be this week or it could be a week from now. If you're thinking of trying out macOS Sonoma Beta, you may want to wait a little bit if you're using legacy plugins in the Mail app. Apple seems to have dropped support for some of those, so that's just another caution of using early betas. They may change this in future updates, but it looks like they may get rid of some of them. So if those are crucial to your business, hold off on installing those on any main production device. Apple's Vision Pro headset will be releasing next year, but it seems the name has actually been registered for some time in China by Huawei. This is according to a trademark found by mydrivers.com. Apparently, Huawei owns the name Vision Pro in China, and Apple may have to pay for those rights, as I would think Apple had already done their research, but either way, this may or may not be true that they'll have to pay for that. Maybe they've already talked to them about it, but this happened early on with iOS when it launched, as that name was actually registered to Cisco in the United States for their business routers. That's the OS that runs on them. However, it seems that there's 58 other trademarks listed for Vision Pro according to 9to5Mac. So this is either something Apple's already dealt with or is in the process of. Taking inspiration from Apple's upcoming headset, Parker Ortolani on Twitter actually showed a concept of what he thinks Apple could maybe integrate as far as design cues from the headset into future products, such as these AirPods Max. So AirPods Max 2 we haven't seen yet, and you can see he took the headband design that we have with the Vision Pro, put it on AirPods Max. What do you think of this overall? Do you think we'll see some of those design cues trickle down, maybe with the charger and more? Some of those things would make sense. I'm not sure I would like that headband, but the current one works okay, but is not perfect. So let me know what you think of that in the comments below. The other day, I posted a follow-up review on the Apple Watch Ultra and how it inspires me more than the other Apple Watches to get out and move more. It sort of fits my style more. And a follower of mine on Twitter recently posted how he'd lost 100 pounds with a combination of weight loss surgery, Apple Watch, and Apple Fitness Plus. And as you can see here, Nate Gorby said, "Dear @Tim Cook and the Fitness Plus team, I wanted to say thank you for everything that you do with the Apple Watch and the Fitness Plus service. It's changed so much for me and made me a healthier, happier person over the past several months. Here's my story." And he goes into more information about this. Tim Cook actually replied and said, "Congratulations on your fitness journey. Best, Tim." So it's great to see Apple responding and Apple Watch helping more people. Maybe I should take some inspiration from that as well. Now, this week's video is sponsored by Caseku. I've had them in many of my videos, and this is the Caseku Magic Stand case. It comes in clear, space black, and there are new clear purple and clear black cases too. It's a protective case that adds grip and looks great, and it also has raised bezels around the screen and camera, but also has a hidden stand built in. The stand allows for a 40 to 120 degree angle and has a magnet in the ring of the stand that supports MagSafe accessories and charging. I'll link the case in the description along with a discount code so you can try it out. The new 15-inch MacBook Air has been out for about a week or so. I did a full unboxing about it, and I've been using it every day since. So far, I really like it, and just wondered if you'd want a full review about it. The midnight color looks great, but picks up every single sort of fingerprint you can imagine. I've wiped this off, and it still shows, just like the 13-inch. So this may not be the best color option if maybe you actually find you leave a lot of fingerprints on devices, or Either way, you can't stand that. But if it had a skin on it or maybe a clear skin, that might help it a little bit. But let me know if you'd want a full review about this in the comments below. Now, as far as weekly deals this week, there's some good ones out there. First of all, the AirPods Pro 2nd generation seem to be on perpetual discount at $199, sold directly from Apple on Amazon. Also, Beats Studio Buds are down to $99. So I'll link both of those in the description below. And also, this new 15-inch MacBook Air is already $100 off, all sold directly from Apple on Amazon. So I'll link those in the description. They are affiliate links. I'll get a little bit of money if you purchase through that link. If you don't want to use that, just search for them on Amazon and you can get them that way. And you'll see as I open the AirPods Pro 2, there's an all-new adaptive audio message that pops up on iOS 17. So that's something new. And I'm getting a lot of questions on iOS 17 as far as sideloading. Apple so far has not implemented sideloading so that you can install third-party apps or have third-party app stores. However, in a recent interview, Craig Federighi, the head of Apple's software, has said that they'll work with the EU and may comply with the new law. The law is not yet in effect, it seems, so they do have some time with this. Now, Apple's cinematic mode in the camera actually is now available to third-party developers. That's with iOS 17. So if you want to use the cinematic mode where it can automatically shift between different subjects and blur the background, that's something that third-party developers can use in their apps if they choose to do that. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention has to do with iCloud Sync. If you're using the iCloud Drive option on iCloud, Apple actually leaves on third-party apps, so they'll still sync even if you turn this option off. So maybe you don't want to use iCloud Drive, but maybe you want to save your different apps or different things with games into iCloud. It will leave that on even if you turn this off now. So that's something that I think many people will welcome, as it wasn't available in iOS 16. Also, one thing I wanted to mention is watchOS 10 can now use lockdown mode. This is a new feature that was detailed by Apple in a press release this past week, and something that should be coming fairly soon if you're installing iOS 17 and watchOS 10. So if you want to use lockdown mode, you can do that. You'll see in the press release, Apple announces powerful new privacy and security features. So they mentioned lockdown mode. They also mentioned things such as major updates to Safari private browsing and much more. So with the private browsing, people have found that they can actually remove tracking from the URLs in Safari and even messages and mail with links. So they actually call it advanced tracking and fingerprinting protection. MacRumors actually explained it quite well and said Safari automatically removes tracking parameters from URLs while in private browsing mode. This is in order to prevent cross-website tracking. When a tracking parameter is detected while browsing or copying a link, Apple says Safari strips the identifying component of the URL while leaving the rest intact. The links will still work as expected, but will no longer have unique identifiers. So that's something that will be available once iOS 17 is available to everyone. So that's always great to see more and more privacy built in. Now, one feature I've really been enjoying using in iOS 17 is live voicemail. It's helped me a few times already, and I wanted to ask you what your favorite feature is, or has there been something that's unexpectedly helpful in iOS 17? Let me know in the comments below. Now, this week we could see the release of iOS 17 Beta 2, however, we don't know this for sure. And the reason I say this is because last year and the year before, we typically have them on the 22nd or the 24th. Depending on the year, it's typically around those dates. So we could have Beta 2 at the end of the week, or Apple could push it to the beginning of next week. We don't know for sure, as they haven't said, but typically after Beta 2, they usually give it a few days, and then they'll release the public beta. Apple said the public beta is coming out in July, but they could release it a little bit early, as they've done that before. So we'll have to wait and see, but if we don't have it at the end of this week, we should have it next week. Also, this week, I would expect some sort of update for the public. It seems on different people's website analytics, there's more and more sightings of iOS 16.5.1. That would be a bug fix, maybe a security update that would be available to everyone. That could also release along with macOS updates to patch issues with the Mac Pro and more. So we could see that very, very soon, or we could see that later in the week, and we just don't know. Apple hasn't said specifically, but typically I would expect it pretty soon, as we started to see it a week or so ago. Also, iOS 16.6 is in beta. We talked about beta 3 this past week. Beta 4 or the release candidate could be this week. Typically after beta 3, it switches to a weekly cycle, so we could see that this week as well, usually on a Tuesday or Wednesday. But again, we'll have to wait and see, as Apple's been all over the place with releases lately. Now, as far as rumors, there's not a whole lot to talk about this week, but the upcoming iPhone 15, which we're expecting some changes to the frame with titanium. We're also expected upgraded internals, upgraded cameras, and more. It's said to include a new ultra-wideband chip to better integrate with Vision Pro, according to Ming Chi Kuo on Twitter. That makes sense, as Apple would want to make this maybe easily integrate, maybe with handoff and more, to Apple Vision Pro, and then you could use the different apps across different things here. As far as any other rumors, well, iPhone 15 we do know pretty much looks like it's going to have an action button, and there's not much more to talk about, as it seems to be pretty much finished and Apple's working on producing it at this point. They only have a few months left to produce hundreds of millions of them to get them ready to release around the world. So we think it's going to be very similar, but will have rounded edges I've shown in different videos. Many have been asking me about future iPads as well, and I would expect some iPads toward the end of the year, but what they'll have specifically over what we currently have is hard to say. There are rumors of a larger iPad for release maybe early next year that would maybe integrate better with Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro and just add a bigger screen, but we really don't have any additional details other than that as far as by the end of the year. Also, we're still wondering if Apple Watch Ultra will be on a 1 or 2 year cycle. So far, it seems it may just be a 2-year cycle, which I think would be a great move, as it's fairly expensive and seems to be very fast and functional. It doesn't feel old. So I would be happy if they maybe went 2 years, but we should expect some sort of Apple Watch this year with watchOS 10. And so that's everything this week, with all of the different Apple news, releases, and what to expect and more. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.